Alright, so you've heard me talk about getting some kind of shortwave radio to monitor what's going on in the world, should it be different world events or news, or even listening to ham radio. During times of emergency, that stuff can be really valuable. But there comes the next question. What do I do if I don't have room to put up a shortwave antenna? Well, today I'm going to show you a very simple prepping do-it-yourself tip, how to make yourself a shortwave long wire antenna. Alright everybody, welcome back. So what you see in front of you here is just some basic stuff that I'm going to use today to put together a 25-foot random wire antenna that I can use for monitoring the shortwave bands, or even for AM or FM radio, depending on how your radio works. This is just going to be a random length of wire. I have some 14 gauge wire in the back here. We're going to strip that. We're going to put together some clips. The reason I like the alligator clips is it's very universal. A lot of different radios, especially the higher end shortwave radios, will have plugs for an external antenna. Problem is, when you have one antenna and 5 different radios, maybe that's not going to work for the next one. You might need a BNC connector for one, a different type of connector for another. It's easier just to do this and clip it on the antenna, and it does seem to work very, very well. So what I got in front of you here is what you need, really. You can do this any way you really want. Any kind of gauge wire is better than none at all. I do like the 14 though, because I find it's a little bit thicker and heavier, easier to place. And when we get this finished, we are going to take it outside and test it. Again, the bands aren't really all that hot, so I can't guarantee what we're going to hear, but we're definitely going to try and take it outside and test it and see what we can pick up. So let me go over the components. You may already have this stuff. This may be totally free for you. You can buy these online for anywhere from $7 to $20. If you got the stuff already at home, I'm going to show you how to put together one. It's really, really simple. The first thing I have here is some paracord. The paracord is going to be my end loop to hang this from something. You want to isolate the antenna from any electrical or metal or any other object because you just want the antenna to receive the signal, not, say, the fence you're hooking it on. So I'm going to use this, plus these little rings, and I'm going to run some paracord through the ring, and I can just hang that on an antenna, hang that on a tree branch, whatever, and it's right there ready to go, and I'm not getting any of that. Now, if I have to move a little bit further back, and this is an optional thing, I have a little bungee here that I can connect and then clip onto that and run that to a tree, a fence, a post, whatever. This isn't necessary, but very handy, so it'll probably go in my little kit. The purpose of this is to make a portable monitoring station. You guys remember the little shortwave radio I messed around with recently? I still have that over there. We're probably going to try that with that as well as my Sangene, and we're going to see how well the antenna works when it's built. Next up, alligator clips. That's what's going to clip on your antenna. I'll give you a real quick example here of how that would work. You're going to take your antenna and just clip that clip on anywhere. You don't even need to put the antenna up. If you want to get a nice little thick section of it, say, like that, you can clip it right on there in the middle, and that will go into your radio. So we're going to use 2 different radios to test this out today. So just to show you the difference that the antenna makes. The next up, again, I have 14 gauge stranded wire. You can buy any kind of wire you want, really. I just prefer this stuff because I think it's a little thicker and easier to work with and tends to be a little heavier in use. And also, this is something I've made. I'm going to improve this. This is a way to store your antenna. This is just a piece of plastic I threw some duct tape over. I'm going to wrap the antenna end around this. If you think you're going to coil this up into a perfect little circle and tie little twisties on it, it takes forever to take that apart. And if you take it apart wrong, your antenna goes everywhere and gets all tangled up. So that's why I like this design. I'll probably eventually buy an extension cord wrapper or something like that to make it a little easier. But for now, that's my absolute free solution. So let's get into this and show you what we're going to do. Alright, so that is why I tell you, don't wrap this up in a circle on your arm or something, because that's what it'll come out like. This will get straight over time. It's just very stiff right now because it's new. The first things we're going to do, once I untangle this, is get our 2 ends stripped off here, and that's fairly simple. You can do that with an X-Acto knife. You can do that with what I have here. No problem. With this one, you'll just hit the 14, put it in the 14 gauge there. And I just want to strip enough off there on the end that I can clip on one of the 2 items here. Either the alligator clips or that little end loop that's going to help me hang this wire up somewhere. So I'm going to just clamp down and strip that. Once these 2 are stripped, I will bring you back to put on the other ends of this wire. Then we'll stretch it out and kind of try and straighten it out somewhat. You can see it's fairly simple to strip. Now I am going to tin that with some solder. For those of you that don't know, tinning means I'm going to put some flux on there, some soldering flux, and put some nice hot solder on it so that when I put it into its connector and I solder it and then crimp it down, it's a really stable connection. Again, if all you have is an old beat up soldering iron and some old solder, and it's going to work regardless of what you do. But I'm trying to make this as good a connection as possible so that I don't have any failure. Now, this is a non-resonant antenna. You are never going to transmit with this, so I don't really care how long it is or how perfect it is. This is just for reception. You can use this 14 gauge wire to make a nice ham antenna if you want. You can make a dipole out of it or anything you really want. But today's project is really just for reception. We want to see how well this brings in a signal compared to a stock antenna. So let me strip off the ends, tin up the ends, and we'll bring you back for the connectors. Okay, so here we are. We're all set up. We have the ends stripped off. I did spin this around a little bit to make sure everything's nice and neat. Now, obviously, this is going to be too long for my little alligator clip. It's going to be way into there like that. So what I'm going to do is just clip off a little tiny bit on the end there. And that, again, you can measure it just by your vision. Just a little bit off the end there. Okay. Now, here's where you want to put this little grommet over the end here so you don't forget it. That will protect your connector in there. And we're going to put this in here like that. Now, there are some of these that have this little screw down here that you can run it underneath and screw it and make a circle. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is crimp it first. I'm going to tin the wire first, and we'll do that right now, as a matter of fact. See how nice and neat that is? It's a whole lot neater, and there we go. It's back. I worked many years ago when I was in my teens. I used to race slot cars, and we used to build the little copper chassis and brass chassis parts and stuff. And I'll tell you, soldering tips, man, I went through a ton of soldering tips trying to figure out how to do it right. So with this here, I am going to put a little bit of flux on the inside here to kind of hope it melts when it gets in there. But really what this is going to rely on is the crimp. I'm just going to put this in here like that and crimp the end with my crimping and cutting tool over here, and that should hold us pretty good. So you'll see through here, I'll show you if you have one of these. These are very common. These are your measurements. That's 16 through 14. So I'm going to use the 16 through 14 on this one. Try to keep it straight. Okay. And there we go. Nice and flat. And do the back to catch a hold of that wire. Okay. There you go. So I'm going to solder that. And we'll move on to the little hook on the other end. There you go. All soldered in. So I'm just going to put this end connector over the end, and we are going to do the other side and do that little loop fastener there. And we will get that on there with a little size 15 ring, and we'll get that set up next. All right, next part here is going to be your end connector here. I have already fluxed that up and got my, whoops, sorry about that. Got my thing working there. Soldering iron tip just needed to be cleaned up a little bit. And there we go. Nice and tinned. Get a little more on there. Get a little more solder. There, perfect. So I'm going to put that inside now. Okay, and I am going to crimp it first before we try to put it on there. And then we're going to crimp it on there. And then we're going to solder it in there, I mean. And in reality, that's as simple as it is. You're going to put one on one side, one on the other. Now, I mentioned the bungee. This is just a little tiny bungee. These come in packs at Walmart. This would be more for if I was hanging this here and attaching this to something far away. Now, we probably are going to hook this up with this to begin with, just because I want to straighten out this wire a little bit. But what I'm going to do is take it outside, and I'm going to hang it up. I'm going to test it with 2 different radios and see how well that works. Alright, so this is how I have it set up here. It's just hooked onto that tree with that bungee. And it runs from this tree. It's about 9 feet up. I hope I'm getting it in the camera because it's hard to see. And it will just run right over to that tree over there. Kind of walk along the wire. There we go. And in through this tree somewhere. There we go. And down to my monitoring station. Let me set this up so I can show it to you. So we're going to put the camera down there and let you take a look at it. We're going to try both radios, and I'm just going to use WWV as a control because I know it's coming in fairly well today. And we're going to see how well the antenna works with both of those little radios. Alright, so there it is. It's kind of fading in and out. I doubt you can see the display out here. Anyway, let's connect the antenna. And there goes your fading in and out. It's coming in nice and clear. We'll disconnect it. Pull it off. So you see the difference. It's definitely... Clip it on where you can actually see it. You can see I got 3 or 4 S units down at the bottom there. I don't know if you can see that. This is a dark display for out here on a sunny morning. But it definitely works well. So let's try it on the Sangean now and see how that works. Alright, no antennas connected here. I just have the antenna sticking up. I want you to pay attention to that signal there. We're going to connect this now. 16 hours, 56 minutes. Coordinated universal time. Much better. So it's definitely working well. I'm going to try and tune around on here and see if I can find some hams talking, and we'll try that out. Alright, we're over here on 40 meters.
And that's kind of the plan. So the summer
there you go.
to come and visit WA7.
Now I'm going to take the wire off real quick. Nothing.
We'll see where else.
Big difference, huh? So let's wrap this up, bring it inside, and we'll finish up. So there you go. All wrapped up. Now again, this is a temporary solution, this little wrap-up that I have here. It's obviously not up to the strength of the wire. I'm going to get a decent one and put it on there. But you see how small you can pack this stuff down. And, I mean, coupled with this radio, which I will leave a link in the description down below in. It's a little shortwave AM/FM radio that's been really hot lately. Everybody's been learning how to use them. They're Arduino based. But coupled with something this size, you know, you can pack that up, put it in a little container somewhere, and carry that with you and monitor the world from wherever you are. And don't be afraid to use this antenna indoors. I'm going to show you very quickly what I have for a shortwave antenna in here. I mean, I have the MLA30 outside, but what I have in here on the Sangean is a little piece of, it's literally wire. It's stripped wire that I was using as baling wire, and I decided to make an antenna out of it. So let me show you over there real quick. It just runs up there, runs up along there, and runs up on the ridge of the roof there. You can see it running along the top of the roof, just tacked to the roof. There's absolutely nothing fancy about it. It just works. So don't be afraid to use that antenna indoors. Let's get back on the table. This will work perfectly indoors. It will work very well outdoors. I did seem to have a very high noise level. They are doing a construction over kind of that way, and they were running a bunch of different equipment out there, so that's probably why I had that high noise level. But it's an interesting little antenna, and it seems to work very well. And you can make these any length you want. This is not for transmitting, it's just for receiving, so it's any length. Cut it to whatever you feel comfortable with. I made it 25, about 30 feet actually, and it seems to work very well. Anyway, that's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That is how to make yourself a shortwave long wire antenna. You can throw this out a window. If you live in a high-rise, you can hang it up. You know, if you agree with the neighbors next door, you can hang it up on their window and have it facing out. Either way, you'll get a good reception with it, and it will definitely improve. You saw that bar on the Sangean go right up the minute I connected it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to check our links down below. We have our Thrive Life link as well as our Food for Patriots link. That is preparewithiridium.com, preparewithiridium.com. Both of those are freeze-dried food. Definitely time to start looking into getting yourself set up with some freeze-dried food or some storage food if you just want to go to the store and buy it. Now's the time to start buying food and preparing. You don't want to be caught in another shortage or anything like we saw last March. And I will put a link to the radio down below there if you're interested in that. And our Olight link as well. And I thank you guys for watching. Stay safe and stay prepared.